Greetings, fellow time and space. It's your host, Tomoya Shadow, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some more of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're going to be starting with episode 4, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro today, and I want to go ahead and state that I might not be live streaming tomorrow because I'm more than likely going to be out of the house for a couple of hours tomorrow. I don't know exactly when I'll be leaving, but I know I won't be able to live stream tomorrow. But I will definitely be able to live stream on Monday whenever we get back to our regularly scheduled program. So without further ado, let's get started right away with today's adventure and see what's in store for us. I'll see! Also, I do appreciate that I'm finally on episode 4 of the first part of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, because that means we are actually close to finishing the first game, because all Ace Attorney games are 5 episodes long.
Think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
February 19th, 9:47 a.m., British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. I need to take me a quick drink of water, sorry. Cleanse the palate, freshen the vocal cords. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Buria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you could only dream of normally. Except, when I learnt that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops! Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Sister-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh! No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you.
I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem.
Another case? Already?
Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I?
It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it.
What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment.
Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fellow, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. That guy. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo! It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended.
Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer.
Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart?
Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial.
No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead?
I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk.
McGilded's death. I don't understand. What happened? How could he be dead?
After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom.
Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of.
Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames.
No. How could such a thing have happened?
That is being investigated as we speak. But already, the police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded.
That's awful!
The man must have slipped aside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere.
That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened?
That is also being investigated as we speak.
Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself.
An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage.
But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about?
Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police.
Poor Mr. McGilded. British court.
So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow! Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones.
The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can.
The most advanced in the world, is it?
It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair.
Simple? That was simple?
As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose.
I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but The case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating. I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny?
No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, would you agree?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I've prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before.
What's going on? What was he going to say before?
New case? What new case?
Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me. It's a murder and the trial starts at 10 minutes.
Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different.
Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind?
That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Wow, he's actually really good with time.
So the trial's tomorrow then. That still means it's a day from now. Wow. Is everything alright? Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial.
Oh yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense.
Oh!
If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome.
The most terrible end awaits the defendant.
Yes, that's right.
Ugh, here we go again.
Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There's now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits.
Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time.
And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There's something I should like to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds.
Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh!
Another thing? Continue.
On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do.
Something very important?
And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time.
Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details.
How long has he been there?
So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell.
Does he have a newspaper roll full of potato wedges, or is that fish and chips? Is it fish and chips? Please tell me this guy is a stereotypical Brit who loves his fish and chips. I'm sorry, I am being very rude. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me.
Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all.
It is fish and chips! He has a bundle of fish and chips! That's funny. Oh, it is endless! It's an endless bundle of fish and chips. Bruh.
Could we trouble you?
What do you think?
Lovely weather, isn't it?
What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know.
Susuno-san told me it was foolproof.
I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to.
Wow, he's rude. Oh, I'm ever so sorry.
Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying, Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters.
Ow, my... imagining a voice for this guy being so gruff and angry sounding, it's like that hurts my throat a bit. But, hey, I'm here to please the fans. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue. It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
You cannot beat Susuto's personality, I'm sorry.
It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine.
Unbelievable! How does she pull that off?
So, Lord Stronghorn has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susuto-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Inspector Gregson! Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susuto, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him! Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rants Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes?
That's incredible.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors? Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper. So I can't catch exactly what they're saying. But I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs.
Eggs is... Okay.
I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work.
Oh dear. Perhaps the sudden rise to fame does change people.
The case. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the audit, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear. That probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital, unconscious.
That's despicable! What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind?
I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you?
That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Brace yourself, Ryunosuke! You make her turn now! Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest.
So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help them look now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barack von Zeeks.
No!
Sounds like you've heard of him then.
Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death himself, the Reaper of the Bailey.
Lord Barack von Zeeks, who we faced at court only yesterday.
Mr. McGilded told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. In every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned.
This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
And what of it?
Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you?
What do you mean?
What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead.
Ah!
Magnus McGill became a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place?
That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself.
You've branded him as a criminal already?
He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell he is. It'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53. Thank you.
Oh God, Inspector Gregson's voice is going to be a pain!
If it hasn't been established already, I don't really have that much of a deep voice. My voice is kind of higher pitched. I mean, there are times when my voice does get really low, but that's normally whenever I'm still waking up and I'm all tired and groggy and but it's like I can't really hit those low tones all too long.
Gregson's voice is kind of scratchy and gravelly, so it's, at least in my mind. So it's like, that's going to be a pain for my throat. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes, let's go! Let's go to... Obviously, the police are still going to be checking out the scene of the crime. Let's go to the prison first. "19th of February, local prison, cell 9! So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly! It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo! You're making it seem worse! Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me by a number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. What? Look at this guy. He looks so down on his luck. What on earth? And look at... he's an insomniac, too. Or that's probably just... he's either an insomniac or he'd been crying a lot. Because look at the bags under his eyes. Wow, they put a lot of detail into this character. What on earth? Excuse me, but who... Shh! Quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right. So could I ask you, who exactly... There you are! You've got to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams! Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land! So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most momentally moving moment! Okay, I've got to be a bit energetic with this one. Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? What compassion my fellow countrymen show! To dispatch the first-class lawyer, hauled away from Japan to defend a mere foreign student! Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here.
I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example?
Yes, I can! I will! Shan't stay sullen and silent! I can't take myself seriously with this character, but then again, it's an Ace Attorney game! Can you ever take them seriously?
I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy.
Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Tsuchito Mikotoba.
I am a visiting student sent here by our government, notoriously named Natsume! Soseki Natsume.
Soseki Natsume, son. What an unusual name.
Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume.
A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san.
No! Don't be so prosaic! It's much more refined than that!
And haiku, that really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say you were a visiting student sent over here by the government?
Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this! It's beyond the pale!
Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here?
No! I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course.
Oh.
But, just because the government tells you to do something, doesn't mean you can't do it? No!
What do you mean?
If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. Ow, my chest! Ah! I am going to be in pain.
I see.
Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tended a blank piece of paper. Wise words are white washing!
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh yes, so I'm often told.
You'd often like to be told, it seems. The accusation against you. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder!
Murder?
Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes!
Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated.
Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient.
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case.
Oh, God! It's like all the wind and energy is gone from me from this character. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings.
Sure, the bookshop was accursed too.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet.
How terrible!
I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard!
Slight exaggeration there, perhaps?
I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
That's not good.
They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that! I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people.
I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you?
Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul.
No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it?
What conundrum?
What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen.
I did!
But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit.
Ah! What did you just say?
Nothing! I didn't say anything! Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes! She's right.
It was him! That accursed great detective! He led the police to me! Of all the bad luck!
Accursed great detective? Could it be?
I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live! With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness! Rash, big-headed busybody, be gone! May you be cursed to the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes! I knew it!
And his music starts playing. If you can't tell, I'm eagerly listening to this music. This music is amazing. Then again, the music in the Ace Attorney games are always great. Mr. Sholmes! Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure.
It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon! Disgusting dietary discrimination devils!
You clearly had a trying morning yesterday.
And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat! That Hairlock Sholmes!
It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English.
I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really very well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman! Me, this weak-stooped kitten of a man!
I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable!
Well, the thing is, I was I was thrown into a panic when they botched their way in.
Of course you were. That's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish, foreign, blabbery.
Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English.
Good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say, so I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here.
Oh dear. I'm afraid that's hardly surprising.
I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire!
Oh, you could just call me Naruhodo.
And when we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You could tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you?
Well,
Why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me?
Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour.
A student?
I've defended the case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means.
Oh, Naruhodo-san.
I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose.
But that armband! That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire!
It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend.
A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me.
Oh? Who do you mean?
The lawyers. All the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me.
Goodness! Why do you say that?
For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit.
It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san.
And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. Heard them openly laughing about me before. In my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And, of course, the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through.
Soseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being.
What do you mean?
We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If you can find some clues, it'll give us a much better chance, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, thank you! I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire!
We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Now we go to the scene of the crime. "19th February, Briar Road. So this is where it happened. Briar Road.
Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close to a real Bobby's helmet.
What? The helmet?
Of course! I have to try one on one of these days.
Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Oh no, not Inspector Gregson! No! What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gregson!
This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
So you've been to the holy cells then? What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens. And the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart! London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air.
That makes it worse somehow.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet.
It does make them look the part. Seeing that policeman there with his helmet on, you certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city.
Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you.
Oh, really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep, props on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit.
I had no idea.
Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Let me see.
20 miles? That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far!
And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lights.
Oh my! And I suppose in between all of those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well? And chase after criminals trying to evade the law?
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. It happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind.
Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's Yard policy to give lawyers defend the suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
I haven't actually accepted a job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept.
Okay. Anyway, as far as we know, there is no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can't be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
What?
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less.
Ah!
It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them.
There were witnesses now? Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
Ah! A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching them bang in the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow.
Oh.
I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspect, I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color has drained from his cheeks.
That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
Makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole.
Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper the Bailey, you mean?
There's no way to save the man now. There's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it. Mr. Sholmes! Ooh, music went away.
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle!
Huh.
The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets this information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spotting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble! Ever seen this before?
Oh yes, that's Rant's magazine. A wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals.
That can't really be true. Can it, Inspector?
Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship.
Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes. What is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you?
Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address, even.
It's Baker Street.
How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We'd better try to find our way there before Susuno-san gets any more excited and unpredictable.
Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage!
So we're to have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. And with that, I am going to end the live stream here for today. So when we get back to this on Monday, we will be reuniting with the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. So, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the Let's live stream, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out Mother Roy's DNR page to click the link in the description below to achieve your dream. You won't be disappointed. And of course, don't forget to click that little bell button if you wish to be notified whenever I upload a video or a live stream to my channel. And most importantly, if you wish to see how the Let's Plays are done, you can do so by checking out my playlist section. All my videos there are archived for you for your entertainment, so you can watch Let's Plays like Batman Arkham Knight, Marvel's Avengers, Final Fantasy 15, and many, many more. Thank you all for watching. As always, your host, Mario Shadows, like Alonzi, and I'll see you for the next adventure. Goodbye, everyone!